Hello everyone, back at it again in my little yellow kayak. I just launched the kayak and the first task is to navigate this flock of mallard ducks. Shouldn't be too much trouble. Just go a little bit to the left and they'll paddle as fast as they can to the right. That was pretty easy. We've had some cooler overnight temps the last few days and it's right around 50 degrees, which feels kind of cold actually. But I got my layers on. I got a hoodie on. What else? I got a bunch of layers. Whenever it's cool like this in the late summer, early fall, I like dressing in layers, and that way I can peel them off once that sun gets above the horizon there, or above the tree line. And I can add them back on as needed. But the plan is to paddle across the lake. If I run into any fish, I'm going to stop and try to catch them. This part always goes much better and faster in fast forward mode. But as long as there's nothing showing, I might as well just put my head down and paddle. Got a little bit of a northwest wind this morning, not much wind. Got a few wispy clouds, but once that sun gets over the tree line, it's going to be a bright sunny day. And that's going to make the fishing a little bit tougher than it has been. In general, the fish are going to bite best when it's cloudy, when I've got some wind, pre-front conditions. Maybe there's a rainstorm coming in. We've got none of that. But I just ran into some fish, or at least one fish, that was busting on top, and I'm going to throw a popper at him. Now, generally, if you run into fish busting on top, in the morning early like this, they're pretty agreeable. I mean that the sun isn't even really over the tree line yet, and they don't get a great look at the bait. They're generally pretty hungry, and if you can make a decent presentation, they're usually pretty cooperative. So I got that one to go on the popper. That's a River to Sea Bubble Walker 80 in the abalone shad color. Kind of looks like a shad, kind of looks like a herring, kind of looks like a bluegill. Could be a lot of things. I don't think it much matters early in the morning either, but anyway, I gave that popper a few pops, walked it a little bit. Slowly though. I didn't want to cover too much ground with that popper. Walking bait will cover more ground than a popper in general, but I wanted to stay right where that fish blew up. I tried casting back a few more times, but I couldn't get any more fish, and I was wondering, maybe that fish was just a lone fish and not part of a school. Okay, that was fun, but back to paddling now. There's not much to it except putting your head down and putting in the work. And by the time I get to the other side of the lake, I'm going to be a little bit warmer and I can start shedding those layers. The sun's poking up above the tree line. That also helps you feel a lot warmer too, and I could get rid of at least a few of those layers with the sun up. But that sun's going to make the fishing a little bit tougher. The fish are going to get a better look at the baits. And I'm going to generally lean towards lighter line, maybe a little finessier presentations. And we'll see how it goes. I started out fishing a Crush City Freeloader in the chartreuse and white color. I also mixed in a little bit of a Super Fluke when I could see fish busting on top. That's usually a good bait to throw at them. But they didn't seem to like the popper as much as that first fish did, so I think I leaned mostly on the Freeloader and the Fluke. There we go. I got the Freeloader. I just made a short cast. I might have seen some fish pop up before. I'm going to let that bait hit the bottom, and I'm going to shake the rod with my wrist, just moving up an inch or so, and I'm slowly winding the reel as I'm doing that. And that causes the Freeloader to swing left to right about 180 degrees. I've got a loop knot on the nose, on the jig head, so it really has a lot of action down there. The Freeloader has flat sides, and I think that helps it pivot left, right, and it will do almost 180 degrees if you get it going right. And the fish seem to dig it. I started out with that chartreuse and white color. It's a pretty bright color. And then a little bit later on I switched to Tennessee shad. A little bit more natural. Looks like a bait fish. Could be a shad or herring. Could be pretty much anything. I got a Fluke up on the front deck in case those fish pop up. But these are tough conditions. I've got no wind, slick calm right now, bright sun. I missed a fish there. Let's see if he comes back for it. Yep. I like keeping my drag tight to set the hook, and then as soon as that fish starts pulling, I loosen up the drag a little bit. I have to be a little bit careful with the loop knot. It's not as great of a knot as a Palomar knot or a trilene knot, a double line clinch knot. I mean, pretty much any double line knot will be better than a loop knot. So I just have to baby the fish a little bit, make sure I don't pop that loop. The loop knot I use is a Homer Road loop knot. It's not even the best loop knot, but what I like about it is that it's super easy to tie, and I get a perfect small loop every single time. And the way I do that is I cinch, it's basically a slip knot jammed with a 2 or 3 turn clinch. And I slip that slip knot down to the nose. And then I jam it with a 3 or 2 turn clinch. And then when I pull tight, I get a perfect little loop every single time. And I can tie that loop knot in a bouncing kayak in the ocean. I can tie it in the wind. And that's why I like it. Mostly ease of use. And I get a perfect little loop every single time. That's not a bad fish. He doesn't want to let me have my bait back. Come on now. I'm going to let you go. There he is. That's a nice smallie, nice and fat. Look at how fat he is. He's like a little football. That's the way to start. Nice. Got some fish popping up in front of me. There we are. So I'm going to throw a super fluke at him. I believe I started out with electric shad and then switched to disco violet. As soon as I cast it in there was a fish right on it. It looks just like one of these little herring, but it could be a lot of things. That electric shad color, if I could only have one, that would probably be it. It looks a little bit like a herring, a little bit like a bluegill. Could be a lot of things. I like it in these partly cloudy, partly sunny conditions. And then when it gets a little bit brighter, less clouds even than this, I like that disco violet. Sort of semi-translucent. That's another nice fish. I've got him on a 3/0 Gammy hybrid worm hook. That's another nice smallie. And when I stick him with that hook, I lose very few fish. It's a great hook. Runs a little bit large. That's another nice fat smallie. In another line of hooks, I might use a 4/0, like a mustad grip pin, or maybe a Gamakatsu Superline hook. But specifically for that hybrid worm hook, they run large, and so I like that 3/0 hook. It's a thin wire, but it's plenty strong. It's got a super slick coating on it. Works really well. Anyway, no fish are showing, so I'm back to the freeloader, shaking that jig and minnow. Shaking it with my wrist, slowly reeling with my left. I could even go a little bit slower. Looking around to see if there's any fish busting on top. Slowly winding that freeloader back in. There, that's even slower. That's probably a better pace. Nice and slow.
There it is.
There. I think it was the pace that got him. You know, in these conditions, sometimes they're not too keen on chasing, running a bait down. I got a little bit more wind right now, which is Probably helping me a little bit too. Loosening up that drag so I don't pop my loop knot. Got the net ready. Hey, not bad. Get in the net, big fella. That's a largemouth. Got some weeds on him. Maybe a leech. I think that was a little leech. Not bad, not bad. Put together a nice bag of fish. That worked pretty well. Let's do that again. Nice big long cast. Keep the bail open. Let it fall straight down to bottom. And once it hits bottom, reel in the slack. Start shaking and baking. Slow retrieve. Shaking that rod the whole time. See if I can get another one to go for it. I like this technique. I can cover a lot of water, but it's still fairly finessey. It's like a Damiki rig, but with a lot more range. So instead of fishing right below the boat, I'm fishing, I don't know, as far as I can cast. And still pulling in fish.
There's one.
If they'll go for it, it's a great way to catch them. And it's a new technique for me. I'm still learning about it, but so far so good.
Don't jump. Don't jump.
And I got another one.
Don't jump. He's gonna jump. I see him.
This fish busting up behind me. But I got a fish on. I got to deal with this fish first. Gotcha. Get the pliers. Go a little bit faster. He got all of that too. That's how you know you got the color right. Presentation's good. They eat it down deep. Not bad. Nice thick largemouth. He's been eating the herring. Splashed me in the face as he left. That's alright. Starting to head back. I like to start out kind of as far as I want to go and then start working my way back. And I think right around here I saw some fish popping bait. Yeah, right around here. So I'm going to get that super fluke out. Yep. Once they're all charged up, chasing bait like that, you can throw a lot of things at them. But I find once the sun's up high, super fluke's hard to beat. You could throw some other different kinds of soft plastic jerk baits too. But super fluke is kind of the classic. Still works great. They tear them up and I put them back together with Mend It. And just put them right back in the bag. I let them dry overnight. And they last and last and last. I mean, I can make a bag of super flukes last all year if I really want to. Unless a pickerel cuts me off or cuts off the tail, something like that. You can repair any of these soft plastic jerk baits and make them last and last and last. I made a little bit more progress towards home, or at least towards the boat ramp. And I stopped the fish for a little bit to see if I could catch another fish. And I got one.
What's that?
Loosening up that drag. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's the wrong kind. That's a chain pickerel. And I got to get him in the net before he cuts me off. Fishing with 6-pound Yozuri hybrid as a leader. and pickerel can slice through that in a second, just like setting the hook into a pair of scissors. So I was lucky he didn't cut me off. There he is. And there he goes. See you, Mr. Pickerel. Alright, I've had a good morning out here. I think there were 2 stars of this morning, probably the Freeloader and the chartreuse in white, and then a little bit later in the Tennessee shad color. And then the Super Fluke and electric shad, and a little bit later disco violet. Those were the 2 stars of today. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Just like all my other videos, I'll put all the gear in the video description. Rods, reels, lines, colors, baits, all that stuff. Hook sizes, so you don't have to remember all that stuff. You can just look at the video description and see exactly what I was using, and hopefully you can have some good success at your own home lake, wherever that might be, using the same lures and rods and reels and all that good stuff. Alright, I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!